What is your opinion on Jesus?
I believe the way to interpret Jesus is allegorically, not literally.
I do believe that Jesus was historical. 5 years ago, they just found a slab saying, "Here lived Jesus of Nazareth." Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Primary sources are very important. If, for example, we're having this conversation now, if after we have this meeting or during this meeting, somebody writes up what's taking place now, that's the first piece of source. It's called primary source or first source. It can't be ignored. In 100 years' time, somebody can't ignore that. That can go to court and say, what was the first piece of evidence that was written regarding this? And let's say this was written now. And let's say in 10 years' time, something else is written in regard to this meeting now. That's not primary source, because that's 10 years on. It's the next piece in line, but you can't use the 10-year, something written 10 years from now over against what was written today. That's what primary source is.
Nobody wrote a book in Jesus' lifetime.
When Jesus' disciples were alive, there was no need to write anything. The way the gospel was being spread was by word of mouth. This wasn't on mishap. There was no intention to write. One of the reasons why they were writing is because people were dying out. If you look at the Gospel of Luke, he says, "I'm going to set down this record for future generations so that those who come after me will clearly know what people at the time believed." So
why did they not have the foresight to write it down contemporaneously so that the generations born 2,000 years later would have access to unarguably accurate data?
If Jesus doesn't exist based on the evidence you've given, then many people in society don't exist.
Christ was this character who came to earth, and he basically had a body of wisdom to impart to his followers. And it was later on felt that his body of wisdom was so significant that it should be written down and shared with a generation way into the future. This is the mythology, and I call it Christian mythology.
Prophecy has to fit accurately. It can't be just a bit. So the purpose of the Christian faith is to bring man ultimately back in. When you strip away everything else, to bring man back into a relationship with God. And the Bible says that there's only one way of doing that, through Jesus.
This is what I find really, really astonishing. Why people don't even get the point here. Jewish people for whom the Old Testament was written is a book, according to Christians, according to Jews, and according to Muslims. The Old Testament is a Jewish book. No one argues on that point. And Jewish people do not interpret the Jewish book literally.
In fact, not all Christians take the Bible literally, as in interpret everything literally.
Christianity was really Judaism for Gentiles. As an old Jewish friend of mine said, he was a rabbi. Jesus was a rabbi. And he was a rebellious rabbi, because he was teaching things that was not linked to the Jewish faith.